She's not a political party. She's not sitting in parliament. She is an individual who decided that she wanted to do something for South Africans, and now she's working with AfriForum. Before you tell me that working with AfriForum means she agrees with everything AfriForum has ever stood for, let me ask you something. Have you all suddenly forgotten how politics works? Because the EFF once used its votes to help put a DA mayor in Johannesburg. Despite the differences between the two parties, the EFF specifically said there would be no formal coalition, but it voted for the DA in Johannesburg and other municipalities, helping DA candidates take office. They didn't suddenly become DA supporters. They made a strategic decision based on what they believed would be achieved. So why is Jacita forbidden from doing the same thing? She is not saying I agree with everything AfriForum has ever said. She is saying, show me what you did right. Teach me how you built what you built, because I want to take that knowledge and build something for my people. That is called learning. And before someone starts shouting, but AfriForum, yes, we know the history. We know the history of apartheid. We know what happened to Black people. History does not disappear because somebody doesn't want to talk about it. But here's where I don't understand the hypocrisy. If you believe AfriForum is racist, if you believe the people associated with AfriForum don't want Black people in their spaces, then explain something to me. Why are you still paying tens of thousands of rands every month to send your child to schools where you believe some of those teachers share those very same values? You trust those teachers enough to educate your child. You trust them enough to spend 8 hours a day with your child. You trust those schools enough to take your last cent and pay the fees. Why? Because you're looking at the bigger picture. You are saying, my child will benefit from this education. That's exactly what your parents did after 1994. After decades of apartheid and segregation, they still took Black children into Model C and former white schools because they believed those schools offered something their old government schools were not offering. And even today, Black learners go to schools where sometimes they face discrimination, bullying, or exclusion, and parents still keep them there because they believe the education and opportunities are worth it. So explain the difference to me. Your parent says, go there, learn, take what is useful and bring it back. And now Jacita is saying, teach me the ABCs. How did you build that? I want to learn it and use it for my people. What is so different? The same thing happens with universities. Stellenbosch University, UCT. Those institutions have histories rooted in a South Africa where Black people were excluded from many spaces and opportunities. Yet today, Black students apply to these universities because they believe they can get something valuable from them. No one says don't go there because of what the institution represented historically. Because you understand the bigger picture. You want the education, you want the opportunity, you want the knowledge. So why can't Jacita say, I want the knowledge? You can hate mangoes and still admit that mangoes are sweet. You don't have to love something to acknowledge that it does something well. And that is where critical thinking comes in. We have become a nation that complains. We complain about schools, unemployment, crime, everything. But then we see something happening and we don't even stop to ask why. We have adults with degrees who sometimes cannot make a simple independent decision because their leaders have already told them what to think. Someone questions their leader, and instead of listening to the argument, they hear, you're attacking my leader? Then comes the attacks, the insults, and suddenly, confidence and a loud mouth are confused with intelligence. A degree proves that you are educated. It doesn't automatically prove that you can think. And when people say we are an illiterate country, maybe part of the reason is that we have adults who listen to respond, not to understand. You can disagree with someone and still say, I don't agree with you, but I can see what you're doing is right. That's maturity. That's critical thinking. That's how countries move forward. And we've been entertained by the circus in Parliament for far too long. As long as I can remember watching Parliament, there has been shouting, screaming, and performances. And after all that noise, what exactly do we get? We're done with the circus. We want action. Let the circus continue if they want to entertain themselves. We have a country to build. And this is why I don't understand why some people are so desperate to stop Jacita before she has even had the opportunity to prove what she can do. She hasn't asked you to vote for her. She hasn't asked you to put her in parliament. She hasn't asked you to hand her the country. She's saying, watch me. But don't tell me she cannot learn from someone simply because you dislike that someone. Because if we applied that rule to everything in South Africa, half of us would have to stop going to the schools, universities, and institutions we're currently using. Sometimes you don't have to agree with someone. You just have to be intelligent enough to learn from them. And if this experiment fails, South Africa loses nothing except an experiment. But if it succeeds, South Africans will benefit. Yes, I already know what will happen after I post this. Some people will come into my comments wanting to attack me instead of listening to understand. They'll bring up things I never said, they'll argue with arguments I never made, and they'll be proving my point while trying to disprove it.